Today, St. Paul's youngest students will be heading back to the classroom for the first time this school year.
All early childhood and pre-K through second graders will be returning for in-person learning. The district superintendent says that they have been planning this for months now, since last March, in fact, when the pandemic led to shutdowns across the country.
We've had time to develop and implement our protocols. We've had time to invest in the Federal CARES Act money for us to buy additional mitigation from masking to plastic barriers to important disinfectants. We've hired additional custodians to keep our schools clean. We've gone through protocol after protocol to ensure that we're ready to do this.
Now, the union representing teachers in St. Paul has voiced concerns about reopening, saying that 93% of its members currently have, quote, no confidence in the district's plan. Our Ashley Zilka will have much more from both sides of this debate coming up in a live report starting in about 30 minutes here at 5 o'clock.
In Minneapolis, hundreds of public school teachers and staff were supposed to return to classrooms today to prepare for in-class learning for some students to begin next week.
But a new judge's ruling now says that the district cannot force those teachers to return to in-person classes. The Hennepin County judge's temporary injunction covers staff who have previously applied or are in the process of obtaining an accommodation. Lindsay West is a fifth grade Minneapolis teacher who lives with her two kids and senior parents. She says this news comes as a relief.
Both of my parents would fall into various categories for high risk, and the idea of exposing them to COVID and something terrible happening to them was a heartbreaking reality that I was dealing with every day this past week. So for me, this was huge.
But the debate is causing uncertainty for parents that are caught in the middle. Tracy Jefferson, a former Minneapolis Public Schools employee with a son in suburban school district.
It's scary, but I mean, what are we gonna do? Keep waiting for it to go away? Because it seems like it's not gonna go away.
Still, the district says it is moving forward with plans for in-person schooling starting Monday, February 8th. In a statement, Minneapolis Public Schools said this: returning a large district to in-person learning is a complex, multifaceted effort, and we will continue with our plans until and unless directed to do so otherwise. MPS says in-person learning for students pre-K to fifth grade will be fully in place by February 22nd. Another hearing is set for February 9th to discuss the temporary restraining order.
Today, the last group of educators and child care workers will get their first COVID shots as part of a pilot program that aimed to see 15,000 people vaccinated over the weekend. Yesterday, the clinic set up at Roy Wilkins Auditorium and vaccinated more than 3,100 people. The state's also working to vaccinate Minnesotans over the age of 65. More than 27,000 people were vaccinated in clinics in just the last week. Today, the Minnesota Department of Health is expected to make an announcement on the state's COVID-19 vaccine distribution. That's according to a state health official. It is expected to include a big increase in vaccines for people 65 and older, available by appointment in clinics, hospitals, and other locations across the state. Also, a new vaccine locator map to help to connect Minnesotans to providers in their area who are administering the shot. That's expected to make a debut. And permanent vaccination clinics will be announced in Minneapolis, Duluth, and in southern Minnesota. This is part of a new aggressive plan to try to get the shots to more Minnesotans. Now, today, Minnesota Republican senators on the Aging and Long-Term Care Committee will give their recommendations for vaccinating seniors. The announcement comes as Minnesota reports more than 531,000 COVID-19 vaccine doses have now been administered, which is 64% of the state's total vaccines.
It is 4:37, and in Washington today, 10 Republican senators will meet with President Joe Biden to discuss coronavirus relief for Americans. They proposed a package that would spend about a third of the $1.9 trillion that's being proposed by the president. Faith Abube has the latest on the negotiations from D.C.
This morning, two competing COVID relief proposals now on the table. As President Biden faces his first big test to make a bipartisan deal, the president inviting Republican lawmakers for an Oval Office meeting today, just hours after the group challenged him to consider a more targeted $600 billion relief package. The GOP offer less than a third of the $1.9 trillion aid package Biden has called for.
If you can't find bipartisanship on COVID-19, I don't know where you can find it.
While both sides agree on spending $160 billion to develop and distribute COVID vaccines, they're far apart on details like direct payments to Americans. but Democrats indicating they're ready to move ahead, even without bipartisan support.
If we can't move forward with them, we'll have to do it on our own.
COVID relief has to pass. There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
Meanwhile, health officials fear another surge of the coronavirus is on the way. New and more dangerous variants spreading quickly to more states. January now in the record books as the deadliest month yet of the pandemic.
We're in danger of running out of the vaccines we have.
Several states seeing long lines at vaccination sites, but in other areas like New York City, vaccines in stock, but not enough people showing up. Nationwide, the CDC says states have administered only 31 million of the 50 million vaccines they've received. For some, like Deborah DeGregorio, a complicated process for appointments might be to blame.
It's been awful. I have never, ever gone through anything like this in my lifetime.
And tonight, the CDC's new mask mandate will take effect. It requires face coverings on all public transportation. TSA agents will have the power to enforce that mandate at airports across the country. In Washington, Faith Abube, ABC News.